welcome to our season 2, episode 7, Youth in the Loop. And guess what? We have a special guest with us today, but we'll get to know her name a little later on. But our conversation today would be about dating outside your race, dating outside your culture, and we're also going to talk on dating outside the church. We've talked about that in previous episodes, but we'll touch on that again because you can't leave that out anyway. Okay? I'm really glad we are having this discussion today because it's one that touches identity, relationships, and how we see the world. So today's topic, dating outside your race and culture, isn't just about who you date. It's about values, family, expectations, cultural understanding, and sometimes even how society responds to your choices. This is a space for honesty, not judgment. So remember, young people, honesty, not judgment. We're not judging here. Everyone comes from a different background and experience. So there's no right answer. The goal is to listen, reflect, and maybe even challenge our own assumptions a little. So as we go through this discussion, I encourage you to speak openly, but also respectfully. I want to introduce our panel. We have Gabriella. How you doing, Gabby? We have Kathleen. How are you, Kathleen? We have Samantha. How are you, Samantha? All right. And we have Japhet. How you doing, Japhet? And guess what? We have Yoselin. How are you, Yoselin? Now, Yoselin is the proud wife of Japhet. That's why they're sitting so close together. You know, they're all like merged together, to become one. Yes. And so we're so happy to have you, Yoselin. Feel free, just join in. Don't be afraid. Now, we're going to open the microphone up and we're going to just talk to each other. Okay? So I want to do an icebreaker here. So our icebreaker is, what comes to mind when you hear dating outside your race or culture? Anyone can answer. What comes to mind when you hear dating outside your race or culture? Samantha, that's almost opposed.
Well, I guess I can start first. I would say the first thing that comes to mind is new opportunity. Of course, when you move to a different country, it's a new experience. So the word that comes to mind is new opportunity.
Okay. Interested. Anyone else? What comes to mind? This is just an icebreaker. Y'all just, if you don't want to answer, trust me, I have many more questions after this.
I would say what comes to my mind is differences. I would say, creating a window to be open-minded, to learn about somebody else other than what you're known, like what everything they already know, what you're used to. So it can also give you a new perspective on life and how you view things.
Okay, new perspective. Yes.
What comes to my mind is kind of a mixed bag. It could lead to something very rewarding and something that's very positive, or it can also be a very important learning moment and learning experience.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into this here. I'm just so okay. So our next question: what influences your views on interracial or intercultural dating? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it a person's social media or personal experiences of your own?
Okay, so I would say social media because let's face it, everyone is on social media, right? So if I am looking for a potential partner, I think the first place I would go to is Instagram. I want to see what type of pictures that she's posting on.
Wow.
To just get an idea of who I'm talking to, because Instagram is a very popular social media platform. We understand that. But if you're talking to a significant other, well, in my case, I'm talking to a female, and she's posting up revealing pictures on Instagram, naked pictures on Instagram, that is not a person who I want to per se show my mother, in a sense. So I would say that social media definitely plays a part when it comes to interracial and intercultural dating experiences.
And that's very interesting because you're right. Social media is very big. Everyone is on social media. And you use Instagram, for example. There are a lot of pictures that are posted on Instagram. So it's hard to pretty much a person to say, oh, that's not me. Or if you want to see how I look, just visit my Instagram page. So that's very interesting. Okay, very good.
I would say family. I would say that's my big motivation because a lot of times when we look at how the cultures, for example, Hispanics, if you see how they move, they're unified, they love one another. Like all I have to do, the Cubans are the Cubans, like you don't all you have to say is one word and they immediately connect. I love how they're just so devoted to each other, even how they just met. So that like even with like sisterhood, brotherhood, that unity, that union is what I look for because that means they are loyal towards one another and they love one another and they embrace one another and they support one another. So I would want that for myself. And if I'm married and have my children, I would want my parents and their families to collide. I don't want that division. So the fact that we all can just be together as one, since we're two different people coming together, I would definitely want that. I think family is the motivation and how their relationships are. How do you guys treat one another? How you guys behave will let me know if I want to be a part of that to begin with.
Okay, so Mr. Hamilton goes to social media because that reveals a lot of information on a person as well. But you're saying, Samantha, is that the family, that's what you're paying attention to, or
Yes.
how the family interact with each other, because that's going to define how, if you do marry that person, how they may react to your family or with
how
your
they react
family.
to me, or how they treat my family, or how they'll treat me. Because by even I'm marrying their son, that is the byproduct of them. So I also need to take that into consideration. Plus, so my upbringing, how I was growing as a Caribbean child, I believe that I give adults the utmost respect, especially my husband, my fiance. So I think all of that goes together, which my cultural background and how they perceive me. So I think it goes together.
Definitely. Okay. That sounds good. Have you ever dated or considered dating outside of your race or culture?
Well, I'm married. Well, I would like to say that before meeting Jay, I wasn't considering to date out of my culture because what that came to my mind was like leave my country. And I was like, I'm a Hispanic person. I'm from Costa Rica, so from Latin America. So my family is very big, very united. And to leave my country would be like something very hard for me. So it's like, no, I don't want to leave that. But if God say I have to because of my husband, well, I would be open to it. It's just to adjust. But at first, it wasn't like an idea that I have to to be dating out of my culture. But it was an interesting way that God put in my life to know my husband. So it's like I say, even if you are not open to that, like don't close all the doors because maybe it might be the way that God have to bring the person to your life.
That's very interesting because what you just revealed was a barrier that may keep a lot of people from actually meeting or even marrying someone because you're from two different cultures, right? You're from Costa Rica and you're from Guyana, right? So we're talking about South America here. So you don't want to leave your country, possibly, and he may not want to leave his. I don't know. But what happened? You said you have to put those barriers aside, that defining that relationship, that marriage, and if it calls for you to leave your country, then you'll do that. If it calls for him to leave his country, then he'll do that. So that was very interesting. So barriers are there. So it's
Mhm.
not as easy as many may say, oh, we'll just leave our country. No, it's not that, because like you said, you're leaving behind a lot of family, big families. You're leaving behind your way of life, what you know, and you're now going to meet up in another country, which you don't know. So that plays a big part. Very good. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for that. Anyone else?
Um, oh, you want to go ahead, Catherine?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Yeah, I've definitely been open to dating outside of my culture, especially living in Florida, especially like South Florida. There's such a huge melting pot. You're always, at least for me, I'm always constantly interacting with people from different cultures all the time. It's hard not to. And so I think that, at least for me, when I'm looking for a relationship, I want to make sure that whoever um, the per my future husband will be, is that we match on a lot of the core essential values, like family values. We have similar stances on certain things, especially when it comes to religious views. I think that's very important. And then, of course, there's other things, considering like how will the families interact and so on. But I feel like that's later on. But once, when you meet that person, I think it's important to consider those things. Like, do we have similar um, family values? Do we have similar religious values? I feel as though those should and also our future. Like, are you open to having children or not? Like, these are definitely things that should
Mhm.
come to mind.
Okay, okay. So have you considered dating outside? I want to just, if you answered it, let me just be more exact. Have you considered dating outside your race or culture? Or have you done it before?
I am open to it. I haven't done
Okay,
it, but I'm open to it.
okay. All right, so that door's not closed. Okay, so maybe the young man that's watching this show you don't know, he said, yes, I got the answer that I needed all this time. Yes. Okay, very good. I like that. Samantha, have you ever dated outside your culture?
No.
Would
Well,
you date outside?
I didn't date a lot of people, but
Okay,
like,
well, would you
I'll
date
be
outside your
honest,
culture?
you know,
Wait a minute,
I
hold.
for me, well, I'm gonna be honest.
Uh-huh.
I
Well, we all
would
being
with
honest here.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie, not gonna lie. Um, it's so hard to date outside your culture because I can't explain to my man what a wine is. We go Lyman or Carnival. Like, oh, I want to rinse, or like some things like sauce. Like, there's some things in certain cultures, like where I'm
Uh-huh.
from, like cuckoo and flying fish. What's that? Like, there's just certain things in my culture that I have to explain to you. Like, I just think that that similarity, that the fact that
Okay.
we have that common interest, I think
Okay.
that's what's beautiful for me because we both kind of get it. But
Okay.
dating outside your culture can also give you a different perspective, and it can also bring a different kind of light in the room. I'll be honest, I was pursued by an Italian. That was interesting. It didn't go far. It was just like a oof, but it did open my. I was like, oh, okay, okay, Geppetto, I hear you. I'm here for it. Okay, little pasta. Okay, I'm with
Okay.
it.
All right. So you're saying that you're open to the possibility of dating outside your culture, but you would not
Yeah.
prefer to date outside your culture because
No.
it's just some certain things that you want to experience or that person already know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the fact that we could just
Okay.
grow with it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Expand on it.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Gabby,
Yes.
have you dated outside of your culture? Or would you consider dating outside of your culture?
I'm open to the possibility. Growing up in New York, I was surrounded by lots of people who looked like me, lots of people who had the same culture. And then when I moved to Florida to a small town, I was the only one. So it was really a necessity where I had to open up myself to that part because there was nobody who had the same culture as me. And
Gotcha.
I now that I've gone to university and I've traveled a little bit, I think that each culture they have different similarities to like West Indian culture, even like European culture, all of that. So I think I'm open to it, but I also do think I would prefer somebody from my culture because there's that shared values and that shared systems and morals.
Okay, interesting. Now, based on what you have said and Samantha have said, I have a question now because you would prefer your preference is to date within your culture because people, your culture know what you're talking about. So how would you know that this person is the right person that maybe I'm going to go outside or I'm going to, I'm going to allow myself outside of my culture because I'm really interested in this person. So what would be those cues that you would know that it's time for me to go outside my culture? This is an interesting person.
I
Maybe.
mean, if they match spiritually, emotionally, and physically, then I think those are important cues to consider.
Okay, I like that order. Hold on now. Let's back up. You said spiritually, that's number one. Emotionally is number two. And what's the other one?
Physically.
Physically is number three. Okay, so if this person from another culture matches you spiritually, matches you emotionally, matches your physically, then you would consider going outside of your culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Absolutely.
what about? Okay, all right. So, irrespective, this person know what the food is over there, the dance or whatever. But as long as they match those three, you would consider going out of your comfort zone. Okay, Samantha, what would bring you out that comfort zone?
Okay, Gabby, that was a cute answer. Well, okay, it was cute. What would bring me out my comfort zone would definitely be is giving very much Aladdin a whole new world. You know what I mean? If you happen to like give me something I never seen before and it's intriguing, I'll be like, okay. You have to catch my eye. This one is captivating because I'm very artistic, and if you can find a way that something can match my frequency, that just taps into me a little bit, and it catches my eye, then I'll be drawn to it.
Okay.
But yes, if they align with me spiritually, emotionally, physically, all those, then I would consider. I would consider. But I prefer to stay to what I know. I rather stick to what I know.
Okay. I got you. Now, what are some challenges people might face when they're dating outside of their culture and their race? Or what are some challenges if you've dated outside of your culture or race? What challenges have you faced already?
Well, in my case, sorry. Yes, in my case, like some challenges that I did have was like distance because we met on the dating app, Adventist dating app. So it was like for a while, for the while we are knowing each other, it was like long distance. So it was very hard. At the beginning, it's like, oh, whatever, you text and this and that. But as the relationship like continue and get deeper, more serious, is that you want to dedicate more time to this person. So it's like distance and time was a big challenge. And sometimes it can be economics too, because maybe like not there yet to travel to the place, and more it's like it's far, it's expensive, like meeting each other's every certain time, things like that. Those was some of the challenges we face as we start the different culture dating.
Yoselin, I love your honesty. I mean, because you actually you're talking about the barriers that really exist and how people define their marriages, how they define even dating a person. Some people may say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this distance. You think I'm going to travel 1,000 miles to go see him or 2,000 miles to go see her? No. But you actually challenge and you bring up those barriers that really exist. And people do make their decisions based on time and distance. Okay? Thank you so much.
I think some issues that someone might encounter when dating outside of their culture is kind of like if there's a situation that arises, there might be a little bit of ignorance on someone else's on the significant other's part. And if the person is not willing to listen or willing to learn as to, okay, like let's say for example, there's an argument, someone might have said something offensive, but they don't necessarily understand why it was offensive. But if you're explaining your side and that person's not listening to you or not willing to understand why, then that can cause a big barrier. That can also cause like a big issue between the two. So I think even though cultures, there are a lot of differences, but there's also some similarities. But I think it's important that the your partner is willing to listen to you, they're willing to learn, they're also willing to educate themselves. And even though they may be ignorant about certain things, they're willing to make changes and to evolve and to change instead of just sticking into their old ways or continuing to make the same similar mistakes.
Now, I love this here. You brought up communication because, to be honest, people from different cultures, you may say something, and in that culture, it may mean, hey, these are fighting words. You understand me? But in your culture, like, no, 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 I don't want to fight. That's not what I mean by that. But like you said, to educate yourself, to take time to learn about the culture, to understand is a big plus, A+ on that. And a lot of times we don't have time, and that's why a lot of dating, ends so soon for cultures, because no one is taking the time out to learn that culture. And that's what you're saying. Take some time. A lot of us are ignorant of a lot of cultures, but see, the best thing about ignorance, it doesn't last long if you take time to educate yourself. You don't have to be ignorant of the culture. You don't have to be ignorant of the Trinidad culture, the Jamaican culture, the Bahamian culture, Costa Rica, Guyana, and I'm from the United States. Listen, United States, even though you may not understand the whole culture for the United States, but trust me, we got a lot of culture here. Trust me. And we may say some things that you don't understand. We may say some things that may be fighting words from your country. And you know what, man, that'd get you stomped on if you was in my country, So we have to communicate and learn the culture. I love that. Anyone else?
I think for me specifically from my culture, which is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in
Okay.
order to, I guess, court or date me, the young man has to present himself to my father.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, this is very interesting. And this here is nowhere in my, so I have to develop some questions on this off the spot now, because what you're telling me is if a young man is from where, St. Vincent and where?
From my culture, so my father's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So in order
Okay.
for you to date someone's daughter, the young man has to present himself to the daughter's father.
Wow.
Oh, me too. My dad's from St. Vincent and the
Wow.
Grenadines, and my
Wait,
mom's
wait,
from
hold on. Wait,
Barbados.
yeah, but hold on a
Yeah.
second. Hold on a second, Samantha here. So if there's a young man that wants to date Gabby, this young man, what about distance? He would have to travel. What if he's not in that country? What if he's on the other side of the world? So he would have to travel to date you?
I mean, nowadays it's not as traditional, there's Zoom and there's FaceTime, but
Okay.
authentically, they would have to travel and come present themselves face
I
to face.
got you. And that's more like, I would say old school. Back then, you don't just come outside in your car and blow the horn for the young lady. No, you don't do that. You go walk up to the young lady door and knock on it. So things have changed. But that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because now that young man who's thinking about dating you is now listening to what you're saying, and now he said, "Oh, I got to travel all the way to St. Vincent," or you know what? But that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because there are a lot of cultures out there where, like you said, you need to meet my father. You need to meet my mother. You need to even go to church with me or something like that. Some people look at that. Some cultures like that and say, hey, you got to come to church. Okay, go ahead, Samantha. You were saying something that you're from St. Vincent
Yeah,
too?
my dad's from St. Vincent and my mom's from Barbados, Shout out to them with the lands. But I'll be honest, I would say, as far as my dad, I would say from my culture, for my mom, you have to bring something to the house. I don't think for me, when you're coming to meet my parents, you're coming to a new environment, new space, and you want to pursue me, you have to bring a gift, like if it's flowers or it's like any kind of gift because it's a welcome gift to the home. That's just
Wait a minute.
that's how we do it. Like if you're gonna come to somebody's home, you're supposed to bring something.
Hmm.
Just and also greet the parents as well. I don't and also for me, a lot of times they don't do that as often, just like me and the parents. A lot of young men don't meet parents. They just want to skip past everything and then I'm like, no. So I'm with Gabby on this one, meeting the parents and at least in bring a gift to the home.
Now that's very interesting. So any young man who's watching this recording, if you're thinking about dating Samantha, you have to bring a gift to the home.
Yes.
Now that gift, is it is it something specific? It could be any gift or what?
Well, usually you can ask your own parents like, hey, what would be a good welcome home gift? It could be like a vase of flowers. It could be a book. It has to be some because it's deeper than that. Really, when you're trying to bring a piece to the home, you're trying to invite that I don't know, it's like that term, like it's like love. You're trying to embrace them. You're letting them know how you're being thoughtful and considerate of their emotions and who they are, and you're
Wow.
respecting their space. So there's a lot of deeper meanings when you're trying to go into somebody's home because that's their sanctuary, that's their space. Like this is my home, and I'm inviting you. So the fact you're bringing a gift, you're bringing that warmth that's already there.
Now you know what else I'm thinking here is that you're dating a young man. Gabby, Samantha, you're dating this young man, and this young man is just totally ignorant of I have to bring a gift to Samantha's home. This young man is totally ignorant that I have to meet the father. And so, since the young man is ignorant of this, the relationship may not even go anywhere. So, how would you tell the young man before? I mean, if you meet someone, would you tell them, hey, you're going to meet my parents, you need to bring a gift to the home, or hey, you need to come travel to meet my father. So, do you let these young men know this ahead of time?
Yeah,
Or are they supposed to sit there and
100%.
wreck their brain to figure it out?
No, I definitely would have that conversation with them because I don't want them to be blindsided. Just like if it was vice versa, if I'm dating a man from a different culture, I would say, hey, my mom, you gotta sweep the rug 3 times or something. I don't know. Just know that we're coming to somebody's home, you have to respect their space. I'm not gonna come into your home and judge it or cause any discomfort. So I feel like if I'm dating someone, I would also educate them on who I am. Because if you're gonna date me, don't you think you should know where I'm from, what my beliefs are? Who I am and what I love to do. That is how you create a better relationship because you respect my interest in who I am just as much as I respect yours. So I feel like
Definitely.
if we're gonna be together, at least it won't be awkward if you see me doing something like, oh, she's from there. They do that. Or I'm
Okay.
from here. He does that. It's not that different.
Okay,
It may be
Gabby,
as with everybody else.
would you put the young man on notice?
I always make sure to let them know. I'm like, hey, if things progress, these are the steps that you have to take, and they can choose to either to leave it or do it. And I've had people say, well, I don't want to meet your father. I don't want to do that. Have you seen your father? And then, that's that.
You know,
That's that.
one thing about my daughter, when I would go to the school, both of my daughters told me that I guess the boys or something they were scared of me, and I don't know why because when I go to the school, I never really interacted with them, and so I guess maybe my face had presented, hey, you don't play that. And I told them, well, as long as they believe that, you don't change it because then they're gonna know, hey, she got a dad that doesn't play. The face alone show you that he ain't playing no games. So I agree with you on that with Gabby. Hey, you got to meet the father. Yes. So, and I have 2 daughters, so I would love both of them to bring to meet me, their partner, whoever they're dating. Okay. Now, our last question, very interesting here. At the end of the day, what matters most to you in a relationship? And should race or culture play a role in it? What matters to you at the end of the day? And should race or culture play a role?
I think for me, the most important thing that I look for is personality. Of course, we mentioned earlier that we're from two different cultures. Latin America, I'm from Guyana, South America. But one of the most important things that I looked for in a future partner was her personality. Does she show a life that's shown through Christ? Is she kind? Is she humble? Is she meek? Is she, boisterous and loudy or fussy or toxic? All of these things play a part. And it's interesting because I was just talking to my wife about this like a few days ago. Like, it only takes me 2 weeks to know. 2 weeks to know how a young lady's personality is like. I won't tell you that I'm observing you, but I will listen to how you carry yourself.
Mhm.
So, me, I believe that personality is the most important thing. Of course, culture, it's things that you have to learn. Maybe in our case, I am still trying to learn Spanish, but for me personally, I feel like personality is the most important aspect that you need to look for. Because if you're planning to marry this person, you're going to have to deal with their personality every single day. So
Mhm.
to me, I believe that that's the most pivotal thing to look for when you're dating, even in a different culture span.
All right, I love that. It's personality that matters to Mr. Hamilton. Race and culture, it coming, you have to learn that, eventually. But what matters most to Mr. Hamilton was personality, you know? So let me hear what the other panelists say. Is it race? Is it culture? Or is it something different?
For me, I would say it's something different. Like for me, what matters the most to me is their heart, like their intentions, how they treat others, how they treat their family. That to me is so important. And also their relationship with God. Like, do they actually strive to have a good relationship with God? Do they try to improve that relationship daily?
Mhm.
Because I feel as though the man that will be my husband is someone that will treat me like he treats the church in terms of like his actions, his relationship with God will reflect in our relationship. So those are definitely the most important things.
Okay, okay. Love that. Love that. It has to be, it sounds like more spiritual what I'm hearing, to be honest with you. That heart, you want to get to the heart of the matter. Okay, I love that. I love it.
Yeah, um, definitely. If it's all about the heart, I definitely agree with Gabby and Mr. Hamilton. It's the same thing. It has to be how you treat others, where you are spiritually. Are you kind? You know, how are you on a day-to-day basis? How do you treat others? That's definitely what's important because where you're from is just a byproduct. And then sometimes where we get so consumed by the identity of our culture that we end up becoming all aspects of it. And then we start, practicing all the negatives that come with it as well. And you're like, oh, I'm from here. This is what we do. And it's like, no, that's just how somebody acts. And they just happen to be from there. So you don't have to act like that person on in totality. Like you could be a good person and just be from that place. So
Okay.
sometimes we have to remember we have to find ourselves. We have to have our own identity and stop looking at others. It's okay to model, but why don't you just model Christ? Why do you have to model people who are doing wicked things to other people and think it's okay just to get by life? I think you should just learn how to be yourself, be kind, do the right thing, and just know right from wrong. I think you could read red flags while still being kind to people. You don't have to be like cruel. So I feel like just because you're from somewhere, you don't have to pick up the bad habits. You could pick up the good habits.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Gabby and Catherine.
I think for me, it's respect because if you don't respect my cultural identity, my who I am, then you don't respect me. And that probably means you don't respect others as well. So I think a big thing is respect. I think that goes in how you treat people. I think that goes in how you interact with people. And I think it ties in with your spirituality and your emotional availability.
Okay. All right. So we had a lot of good. I mean, this was a very interesting conversation. I mean, I learned a lot actually here from, especially what is it, Saint Vincent? That's what it is, Saint Vincent. Samantha said you have to be more hospitable. You have to bring that gift. Don't walk through that door without that gift. You know. Gabby said also another component of that is you have to meet my father. You have to meet my father and Jocelyn, I mean, you just brought up so many barriers that people actually define their relationships on a day-to-day basis. I mean, everybody is talking about distance. Everybody's talking about time. I don't have the time for this person. I don't have time to be traveling all these miles to go see a person. And what happened? They miss out on love. But you have to be open to what you're saying, you know, and you're being led by God. If we're being led by God, then He would bring us to where that place where we should be and need to be. Kathleen, spirituality. I love it. You get to the heart of the matter. That's where you are. You at the heart of the matter. Kathleen says she want to know what's in that heart. She want to know it. And I love that. So all of these cultures coming together. I mean, it is a beautiful thing to have different perspectives, a lot of cultures coming together, a lot of flavor in the food. Me, I'm a foodie, so I love flavor. I love presentation. I love that color. I love a colorful plate of food, you know. But these are things we have to let the person know ahead of time. You know, Samantha and Gabby say, hey, we're going to put you on notice. You got to meet my father. Hey, I'm going to put you on notice. You got to bring that gift, you know. So I'm glad we had an interesting conversation here today. Today's discussion shows that dating outside your race or culture isn't a simple topic. It's layered with identity, upbringing, values, and personal choices. What stood out is that while differences can create challenges, they can also create opportunities for growth, understanding, and connection. I love in our discussion where we say you don't have to remain ignorant. You have to communicate. You have to learn more. Kathleen, I believe it was you that said, you know, learn more about the culture, you know. Don't say bad things about it, but go ahead on and learn more about it, you know, so we can get this relationship moving. You know, I love that. At the same time, we can't ignore the real pressure people face from family, society, and even internal doubts. The key takeaway is this: relationships should be built on respect, communication, and shared values. Culture and race are a part of who we are, but they don't have to limit us with the connection. I enjoyed Gabby. I enjoyed Samantha, Kathleen, and I enjoyed the Hamiltons. I'm going to just say the Hamiltons. I'm not even calling y'all out separately. I enjoyed the Hamiltons, and I enjoy what the wife brought to this conversation. She brought out those barriers, you know, and I'm sure that the person who's watching this episode, when they go back to, if they're considering dating someone from another country, trust me, they're going to take all of this information in. And so I'm so happy to just talk with you young people. And again,
and before we continue, I really want to highlight on Gabby. I just want to say, I really want to commend Gabby for even bringing up the point about her father, because I think that we should just highlight that real quick, because it's important that she was able to have a male figure in the home that sets the standard of how a man should treat a woman. I think that's so important, because a lot of Caribbean men, a lot of men from different cultures, they raise their women according to what they know. Children don't come with, parenting doesn't come with a book. And a lot of times where the fact that he was able to not be just like, okay, this is what I know. No, he actually wasn't being ignorant. He learned and he said, no, this is my daughter. She's a princess. I'm going to show her the rights and wrongs and who I was. And I feel like, I'm saying based on what you said, that's what I'm picking up on, because you hold him to that degree, that high, that level where you're like, you know what? Yeah, my dad is him. He's him. You're gonna have to, you want to talk to me, you got to talk to him, because he set that standard. So I think that's important for the Hamiltons. You guys have kids. As long as you set that standard, you know, your children will be they'll appreciate it so much, because now they know what to expect and not settle for less.
That's true. That is true. And that, you know, father in the home does make a big difference.
It does.
You know, and but I've seen also fathers who may not be in the home, but they are involved in their children's lives.
Yeah.
Trust me, it still makes a difference. Okay. The presence alone of a man, of a father, that'll send notice to the young guy. Hey, you know what? The dad is involved in her life. Trust me. And especially if they know the dad know game, or the dad recognizes game. So we need to be on point. You understand me? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So Samantha, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm so happy. And I want to thank our viewers for watching episode 7 of season 2. Listen, invite a friend, invite even the enemy, invite your boyfriend, invite your girlfriend, invite your wife, invite your husband, invite whomever that person is you're thinking about marrying. Tell them come listen to what Gabby had to say, or Samantha have to say, the Hamiltons have to say, and Kathleen have to say. This is Norris and all the panelists, and we are tuning out. Until then, we will see you again in episode 8. Take care.